I know you're blessed with a lot of patience.
I'm learning.
Yeah,
It's a process.
keyword learning. Yeah, tennis is really like unpredictable, as Paige is saying. Like, it's funny because it's a sport where like you can't be perfect. Like, you can hit one shot great and the next shot terrible. Like, so, and it's a sport where you have to lose to win.
He's courtside dad, he's courtside dad. He dreams of Wimbledon, he's courtside dad. He's courtside dad, he's courtside dad. He dreams of Wimbledon, he's courtside dad.
So welcome to Courtside. It's good for us to finally have a conversation with some young athletes who actually play the sport instead of speaking to coaches who talk about young athletes playing the sport. Who I've got with me today is Paige, Cici and Tabatso, and they are here at the Barcelona Tennis Academy. They are some cracking women tennis players. I have the joy of watching them every single week, and I doubt I'll get a single point off them. So thank you for joining us.
Don't be so hard on yourself.
Oh, well, I don't know. I've seen myself play and you guys play, so I think I would get nailed on that. So how are we all doing on this fine day?
Yeah, we're good. We're great.
It's hot.
It is hot. Just for the sake of the podcast, do you want to describe, Paige, the garment that you're wearing just to keep your head cool?
Looks like she's wearing a turban. She looks like she's wearing a turban, kind of a thing.
This is the future.
Yeah. Fashion.
This is fashion.
Yeah.
Okay. Just for those, because that wasn't the greatest description, you are wearing a bright yellow jumper on your head because it is a little bit warm.
Yes.
It's good. It could catch on.
Protecting myself from the sun.
All it
Doing
takes,
what's necessary.
all it takes is Serena to wear it once and it'll be a fashion statement. But anyhow, there we go. So just kind of quickly, the first question I want to ask all three of you is, what drew you into the sport of tennis? There are 101 other sports out there, but what was it particularly about tennis that attracted you three to want to play?
Well, it was actually it was through my school how I got into tennis. They handed out like a leaflet in class, and like I enjoyed sport, so I was like, do you know what? Why not? Let's give it a try. My mum wanted me to get into something to keep me busy, so it happened to be tennis. Yeah.
And so after your initial try, why did it stick? What was it about the sport that made it stick?
I think it was just like because it was like in a group.
Yeah.
So, and we did like a lot of games, so it was just like a lot of fun, really.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Paige?
My mom, when we were young, we had swing ball, with the ball. And she always set up the challenges, like if we got a certain amount of shots in a row, we'd get like prizes, like chewing gum and stuff. And then from there, she then took us to the courts, and then from there, we're here now.
So basically parental bribery got you into tennis.
Yeah.
So is this something Rafa needs to know here? If he wants to help you improve a shot, just include sweets. Just include sweets.
Perfect.
There you go.
Well, for me, it was my dad, for sure. He was always watching tennis on television, and that's something that we had in common and that we both really enjoyed together. And then one day he took me to the nearest courts that we could find, and we started playing a little bit, and that's what made me stick. It's just one of the things that kept me and my dad really close was tennis. So
Cool.
Yeah,
So
my dad.
it's interesting because most of the time I assume that it's kind of players like Serena who inspire people to want to pick up the racket, but the three of you have all said it's your parents. What role do kind of those at the elite end of the sport, the top end of the sport, inspire you to play, or was it really that introduction from your folks?
Well, obviously seeing them on TV, you want to be like them and stuff, and you like inspired to be that great, but also like the encouragement I think from your parents when you're young helps you get into it and stuff, because you can always just see them, but like you can think, like maybe with other sports as well, you see the good players and you're like, they're good and stuff, but I think the little push from your parents in the start gets you into the game and gets you to like it, and then from there things happen.
That's great. That's cool.
Yeah.
So what's the journey that brings the three of you to Barcelona? None of you, as all of our listeners will have heard, have a Spanish accent, so it's not like this literally is home, but you've made it home. So what was your journey from your start of chewing gum bribery that's led you now? That's going to be the name of the podcast, Chewing Gum Bribery. It's the future. what led you from Hubba Bubba Chewing Gum to being at Barcelona Tennis Academy, and the same for all of you there? What was the journey that got you to here? Why are you here?
Well, for me, it was that I was always doing tennis and school.
Yep.
And when I finished my A-levels and I wasn't really ready to go to uni yet, especially because I didn't really know what I wanted to study. So I was like, just to take the opportunity to play tennis like full-time and not having to combine it with something else. And also Spain's got like really good competition in terms of players, like so many players from around the world come to Spain to play, so and it's close to England as well, it's local, so why not,
I love the way that Barcelona is local for a girl from South London.
Around the corner, yeah. Quick plane trip.
Paige, or Tabatso?
I also I wanted to really focus all my energy and give it a full shot, like the whole journey of tennis. And I spoke to my parents, and then they went to see the school to see what like arrangements and plans we could make. And even the vice principal of our school said, like, if you want to be great in tennis, it's overseas, like in Europe, because if you see like the majority of the top players in the world, they all come from Europe. So why not be an environment full of good players where there are so many more tournaments and it's central to so many places. So you being exposed from young to high level tournaments, players, and like getting lots of competition and stuff. So went for it.
And it's just around the corner from South London, and hey, who just want to go there?
Yeah. Okay, well, for me, I'm pretty much the same as Paige and Cici, that I came here because I know that the level here is really good. There are competitions every single week. But another thing is that initially I wanted to go to America, and my parents told me, they said, why would you want to go to America? I mean, besides the tennis, what else would you get from America right now? I mean, American culture, their language, all you have to do is turn on the TV and you have American culture in front of you. And this way, if I go to Spain, I get more than just tennis. I can also learn about a whole new culture and learn a new language as well, which is really cool. So that was another thing for me. Including what Paige and Cici said.
And the time zone as well. Like the time difference between Spain and South Africa is the same, so it's easier to keep in contact with your parents and stuff. Whereas like in America, there's a huge time difference. It's more tricky, and also it's further. We're here. It's far, but America's like even further.
So what's it been like immersing yourself to probably a deeper level now that you're here compared to what you were doing back home? What's it been like for you to really give yourself to your sport?
At first it was difficult because I didn't really spend that much time playing tennis when I was in England. So here it's constant, like play for 4 or 5 hours a day, fitness, especially in the weather. So it was difficult at first, but I'm always like, I like trying out new things, and I like immersing myself into things that I'm not initially comfortable with, and then as you get into it, you seem to like enjoy it and get used to it. Yeah,
That's great.
I've also always liked training hard and challenges, so it's been good.
They're certainly training you hard here,
Yes.
and with the heat.
Yes. Although the weather is similar to where I come from in South Africa.
True.
Not that big difference.
True. I need to remember that not everywhere is as cold as back home in England.
yeah.
Other countries have sun too. So, what is it particularly about the sport that you love? What is it particularly about doing sport or the actual tennis?
I love how there's so many elements to the game. Like, it's not just physical, but mental and emotional too. And there's so many different shots, conditions, elements to it, and how like every day brings something new to the table.
Yeah.
There's always a new challenge to take on, a new thing to try. Like, it's rarely ever the same, although you're always trying to perfect your shots, like make them the same and all perfect. Every day you get thrown a different curveball that you have to find a solution to.
And how have you found finding a solution? Is it frustrating because you suddenly nail that shot, I've nailed it, and then the next shot's not quite?
Yeah.
How do you find that?
No, I find it like the one thing I do like about the sport is like when you like when something goes right, it gives me like a good, like a thrill almost. And then I want to move on to the next challenge. But then sometimes, you know, like you get it right the first time and then it disappears again, and you have to just keep trying, be persistent, you know.
Right.
So patience, it takes a whole lot of that.
And are you blessed with a lot of patience?
I'm learning.
Yeah,
It's a process.
keyword learning. Yeah, tennis is really like unpredictable, as Paige is saying. Like, it's funny because it's a sport where like you can't be perfect. Like, you can hit one shot great and the next shot terrible. Like, so, and it's a sport where you have to lose to win. You can't go through a match and win every point. Like, it's impossible. You have to lose, win. So it's like a roller coaster, you know. And we're all learning.
And we're all learning how to deal with this roller coaster. For me, another thing that I also like is how diverse tennis is. I think you guys will agree with me. I mean, the listeners can't really see what Paige, Cici and I look like right now, but I mean, Cici is like so tall and I'm like at her hip, and then Paige, I'm like at her shoulders. And I love how you don't have to, there isn't like a specific criteria, you know, for every single tennis player, not just with body, but even with different techniques and personality. You know what I mean? It's really great. It's a sport for everybody, I think.
Yeah.
So when you look back at kind of your time playing it and you're currently playing, what are some of the highlights for you, and why were they particularly high? So kind of when you sit back in the sun on the beach, looking back at all those fine times on the tennis court, what puts a bigger smile on your face?
Obviously the wins are like cool and nice to have, you know. But no, I also think like highlights to me also, like I said, is like when I get something right and it just clicks, you know, and then I can move on to the next stage. It's like almost like a sense of accomplishment that you've achieved, like let's say top spin, now you can learn slice, you know. Always moving on to the next stage is quite cool, you know. You can see yourself progressing. Yeah.
So for you, is that as satisfying as a win, or is a win more satisfying?
No, I think moving on to the next stage is more satisfying because we're still young, you know. We're getting to that stage where the wins will count, but for now it's like the process, you know. If I accomplish all like my top spin, slice, all the different elements of the game now, then when I'm like my game is complete, then when the wins count and I get them, then it'll be more satisfying. Yeah.
Yeah, a highlight for me has also been like the relationships and friendships you make here, like with the people you meet, because there's people from like all around the world here. You get to learn about different people's cultures, and like also the relationships you make like with the coaches and like the players. Like it's almost like a family away from home, you know. And especially because like most of we're here like by ourselves, like we didn't come like with our family, so at times it can be pretty tough, but yeah, it makes up for it.
Yeah, I totally agree. For me, a highlight has been my moments when I can really see my confidence growing, and that only happens when I do something that scares me. Like if the coaches ask me to do something and I don't feel comfortable doing it, and then I do it and it feels amazing. But so when I have those moments, you know, over time, it doesn't happen every day, but over time when I can see my confidence growing a little bit here and a little bit there, it's a really great feeling. And yeah, that's my highlight, being here on the court at least.
So what about the low lights, or is that a hair term? I don't know. But,
low lights.
what about the times when it's not going so well? How does that knock you? How are you overcoming these things? So I'm thinking kind of coaching when it's getting hard, when they keep on trying to perfect a shot and it's not quite clicking for you, or in a match when you're convinced it was in and they said out. Those kind of games. How do you process that in the heat of the game, or in the heat of practice?
I count to 5.
Deep breaths.
Okay, no, but honestly, in those moments, I have to remember, first of all, something that I always have to remember is that it's not personal. And that this game is not who I am, or that point is not who I am. So I don't need to take it personally first. And I think that calms me down. And even when the coaches maybe, shouted me, I say shouted me, but in a good way, to push me to do something, I have to remember that it's not personal, that these mistakes are not who I am. I think that's what gets me through, is just remembering that I'm not. This is not just all I am. Basically, yeah.
That's cool.
And at times, like when you're training, like sometimes it may feel you're coming to training every day and like you've hit like a wall, like you're not like improving as you want to improve. But then you have to like, it's difficult, but you have to like persevere and keep pushing. And you have to remember, it could be like a bad day, like a bad session, but it's not a bad life. It's not,
It's not a bad life, no.
You'll get past it. It's always a storm before the rainbow.
Yeah, that's it, right.
Yeah. So also we said like tennis is helping to develop patience and stuff, because also like in the matches and stuff, I feel like if I don't control my emotions and I let them get the better of me, then everything's like a blur and like out of control, and I come to the corner, I was like, what just happened, And it's also like, and that you can use like in life too, like if you're in some situations that like aren't the greatest and you don't keep your emotions under control, the outcome of the situation may not be what you want. Whereas like if you have patience, you're calm and stuff, you're able to think and then you deal with the situation better. And on the court it's the same too, like now, and as I'm learning to keep my emotions under control, then I come off the court and I'm like, it was so much more calm and I was able to think and come up with even more solutions, whereas before it was just like, whoa, what just happened?
Which is an interesting juxtapose, because tennis itself isn't that calm a game. When you watch it on telly, it can look almost like ballet, but the minute you're watching it up live, there's the crack of the ball, there's this you are hitting something towards somebody else and they're hitting it back to you. You're trying to get it over that blooming net. Who put that net in the way? The calls are tight, you're getting tired, muscles are aching and straining and all the rest of it, and in the middle of it you're trying to remain calm with all of these forces that are, in essence, are trying to make you anything but calm.
Yeah.
True that.
It's like you're doing the impossible, like. Yeah.
But if you can master that, or if you can learn how to keep emotions in check, then it's not just in tennis that benefits. Because life's often
absolutely
like that.
not.
Yeah, because it teaches you so many things like patience, confidence, how to be disciplined. Like it's not just all physical. Like it teaches you like so many different values that you can use.
Yourself,
Yeah.
like as a person who you are.
Yeah.
I guess that would be another highlight, actually, is learning more about myself and seeing what I learn on the court carry through off the court, into my life. That's another highlight, just putting it out there.
Anything you want to add to that? What have you learned about yourself through playing tennis?
I know what I've learned. I'm definitely more mentally tougher than I thought I was originally.
It's good.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I know. Now I got it. I learned that I tend to be sometimes a little bit too timid, and that it's like I try not to be, angry, let my emotions, run all over the place, but then that results me in being a little bit too timid sometimes. And I've learned that it's not a bad thing to actually let your emotions show sometimes, And that's what I've learned.
Yeah, we often have the conversation with the lad about that. It's okay to crack a tennis ball, it's just not okay to crack somebody else. And but when you got that kind of more gentle personality, in essence, you combine it into both spheres of your life. So, you are not in the wrong by being aggressive with that shot.
Exactly.
And it's funny in a way because you could be like the nicest person off court, and then on court it's like you have to bring out the the dragon, the alternate personality.
Alter ego.
Yeah, exactly.
Release the dragon. So potentially speaking of dragons, let's talk about that strange subgroup of humans called the tennis parent. Now, obviously, everything positive you will just now say will reflect the good stuff of your parents, and anything that might be an observation for learning or critique is obviously not somebody else's parents. We'll take that as read, obviously. But can you give us an example of anything that you've seen that's been a negative from a courtside behaviour being projected onto the court? Maybe it was whilst you were playing, It doesn't necessarily mean that was your focus, or maybe it was a match you were watching and you were seeing almost the life sucked out of that player by how the courtside stuff was going on.
One of our first experiences when we were just starting to like play tournaments away from home, like around South Africa and stuff. We were in Pretoria and we were playing, and it wasn't even like an important round, you know. And these two girls, it was under 12. They were playing each other, and the one was cheating like so badly and changing the score and stuff. And the girl went up to shake her hand like it's for the end of the match, and the girl was like, no, what are you saying? It's 5-2 to me. Like completely switched the score. And on the court, the parents could only sit on the one side because the other side was blocked, and that was the side closest to the girl who was cheating. So her parents kept speaking to her and stuff. So then the other daughters on the side, so obviously couldn't speak to her mother, and the mother was losing it, like saying like, I want to speak to my daughter, bring me your daughter, you know. And the ref was on the court, and he was like, no, you can't speak to your child, like it's against the rules, you know. And she was like in hysterics, shouting, screaming, and she was like, well, are they speaking to their daughter? Then I want to go onto the court and speak to her. They're like, if you come on the court, your daughter gets disqualified. You know, it's the rules of the game. Well, anyways, she ended up going onto the court, and they disqualified her, like she said. And then she went, and there was grass, a hill there, and was rolling in the grass, screaming, like having a proper tantrum. And she's a mother, like. This is the example she's setting to a child.
How did a child respond to that?
No, the child crying, screaming, acting the same as the mother. But yeah, it was like, whoa, this is going to be an interesting journey, you know?
And it's sad sometimes, because sometimes you see that it's actually the parents getting their children to cheat, especially when you're at a young age sometimes. And like, say if the child is like sponsored, so if they don't win like a certain amount of matches, and they'll lose their funding. So sometimes you see like the parents like encouraging that kind of behaviour, but what they don't realise is that when you instill cheating in your child like at a young age, they're going to keep doing it throughout their whole life, not just in tennis but like in different aspects, you know.
Yeah.
So
I've struggled on occasions with that where a ball was definitely out and the child cries. No, definitely in and the child cries out, and you're sat next to the other parents, and you just kind of give the parents a glance and they're like,
correct your child.
What can you do? I'm like, no. You've heard
correct
me constantly
child.
through the match going, Elijah. And also, there's a lot of pressure on an 11 or 12-year-old. They may genuinely have misread it, or in that snap moment, I don't want it to be in. And it's an instant.
Like you think it's going out, and you're hoping it's going out, and then it lands in, and
there's something about, I don't want as a parent to interfere during their game, but there's something where I need to encourage my child to know, you do have to accept that. Right? And then there'll come a time when I hope I don't need to be saying it, because he's growing up to the point of I need to accept that.
Yeah, exactly.
Tabatso?
For me, I don't understand when parents are watching their kids during training, and then they become the coaches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've seen that happen so often. I think it's hard enough already as a player, and I can imagine as a really young player, like 10, 11, 12, you're having to work on multiple things at once already. Coaches are telling you to do this and that, and then behind you have your father or your mother telling you, no, turn like this, 45 degrees. I don't know, they bring in the mathematics and everything. And I think that must be so difficult, and I don't understand. And you can see the child is getting nervous because they have these two voices coming in. Yeah, I've seen that happen so often, and I think it's
and a lot of the time it's like the coaches don't agree with the parents, and the parents don't agree with the coaches, and you get that kind of like dispute, so the child's confused and they don't know who to listen to, because you look up to them both.
It's true. It feels a little bit like it's a triangle. There's you in the middle, and then there's dad or mum saying one thing, there's the coach saying the other, and you're like, I have to go home with those two, so I want to please them.
Who don't want to?
I actually think my coach knows more than mum. Oh, that's an awkward conversation, so I want to please the coach, and then the child's in the middle just... It's an unfair situation to be put in.
Yeah.
So do you navigate that at all? Have you had to navigate that? Yeah?
No, I haven't.
My parents, luckily, they played both sport at like high levels, so they also understood it, and like, no, they're good. Yeah,
that's a healthy place to be.
Yeah, sometimes there's like difference in opinion between parents and coaches, but it's normally sorted out with
And
communication.
It's also nice when the coach and your parents have a relationship, you know,
Yeah.
and like they discuss things and that, so everyone's on the same page and stuff. But like, don't interfere, obviously, but like some things they have to, like it's their child and what they're doing. Sometimes get involved, but it's good. Like, it's better than having no relationship between them at all, where you like in the middle and like the messenger, like this one said that, you know.
And that must make the coaching journey for you with your coaches easy if you know that your parents trust the coaches who are coaching you.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a good criteria for choosing a coach. Do my folks get on well with them? Do they connect well with my parents? Not just, is it the help that they give me on the court?
Yeah, communication is definitely key.
So what examples have you got of some exceptional courtside parent activity that you've noticed?
Andy Burns.
Yeah, and,
Thank you.
Here's the €5. We promise
Thank you.
you said you needed funding for some new strings. Well done. You said your right line.
Okay, no, but I'm serious. For me, what I've seen with you anyway, I really do think that you are. So he sits courtside and he's watching his son. He's really loving the sport that his son is playing. And, you know, when one of those moments where a parent maybe would usually interfere, he doesn't. Or if he does interfere, it's in a way that's always encouraging to Elijah. Or he's not trying to, overpower the coach. Yeah, exactly.
It's easy to do when you really don't have the answer.
Okay, that explains it. That explains it then. But really, it's just like really encouraging. I mean, that's one example that I have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's kind.
My mom, yeah, no. They've also learned through all the years, like, I think as like the journey goes longer and you play more of it, your parents also learn, you know.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning, maybe they're more intense and they like really feel like really not like care about your winning and losing, but like they really want you to do well, and they see how much it hurts if you lose and stuff. But like as you play the sport longer and the journey, they see that you're gonna lose and you're gonna win, and like they're there now. They just, like my mom and dad now, they just sit on the side, like clap if it's a good shot, clap if the opponent hits a good shot, you know. They're not too phased, like, oh my gosh, like normally like before you see like parents like, oh, like their reactions if you miss and stuff, where now they just sit there after the match. They'll like give me my time like to cool off if I'm upset and stuff, and then they'll just like remind me like, you're gonna win lots, you're gonna lose lots, like just carry on doing what you're doing.
Yeah, my mum would always say like it's just as hard for parents to watch tennis, to watch their children play, than to actually play, because like at the end of the day they just want what's best for you. So when you're hurting, like they're hurting. So if you had a bad match, like they've like essentially had a bad match, you know, like, because they just want the best for you, really.
Sometimes even watching's harder, I think. Like even if we're watching like our role models and pros playing on TV, we're like, oh gosh, like, you know, if it's a wrong rally, like, you know, everyone's moving, like twitching, like don't want them to miss the shot, you know. Like sometimes it takes more energy watching, I think.
Even when I'm watching you guys, it's hard.
Like, how did she miss it?
During a tie break, you like cringe all the time.
Don't talk to me about tie breaks. I hate them. Who invented them? But no, sport does that. And sometimes we're trying to curb the emotional responses from parents, but actually sport draws out emotion. And I wonder, particularly when your child is younger, you are more can become a little bit more emotionally invested. I often think of it a little bit like when your little one starts to learn to ride their bike. You know you need to let go when you've taken the stabilizers off, but the last thing you want to do as parent is let go, because you know they will fall off, and you constantly go. And I guess particularly when you're always picking them up whenever they're crying, and the last thing you ever want for them to do is to be crying and hurt. So you've as a young parent, you're getting used to constantly trying to comfort your child, and then when they play a sport, they're playing against somebody or in a match where the other person is causing your child some distress. And it's horrible watching them learn, because you've been programmed for the first however many years to counteract any amount of distress. So it is. It's one journey, one long journey, and we never quite get there. Well, hopefully we will do one day.
Trust the process, as everyone says.
Can you give us an example of kind of parents coming and watching it, and has that changed over the years?
For me, there has, because when I was younger, like, there was never one match where at least my mum or dad didn't come to watch. Like, I'd always want them to be there, and like, if they weren't there, then like, they're kind of like a comfort blanket, you know, when you're younger. But then as you get older, I don't really know where that change kind of was, but you just hit one stage and you're like, you know, maybe I don't need mum and dad to sit there and be there for me. Like, there comes a time when you have to be more independent and do it on your own, essentially, you know.
I still always want my mum and dad to be here, like, watch and stuff, but like, obviously they can't because they're so far away. But like, it's not a necessity or a need. It's more of like, I want, like, yeah. I want them to also like see, like, also be proud of, like, they putting in all, like, they sacrificing so much, and I want them to also see, you know, where it's all going and like the improvements and stuff.
Does that put an unfair pressure on you? Because we're all of an age, and Elijah is aware as well, you know, this isn't free. So do you feel a pressure that your parents may not be saying it to you, but you feel an obligation to improve? Or have your parents released you enough to go play a sport and let's see where it goes?
I used to feel this pressure, and actually a couple of months back my parents and I actually had this conversation because I called them in tears, and I was just apologizing because things weren't necessarily going well, and I was apologizing to them, and I was like, I'm sorry, I know you're sacrificing so much, Mom, Dad, I'm so sorry. And we had this conversation, and they completely took the pressure off of me. So not anymore for me.
Good.
You know, they were really encouraging and they were amazing. So yeah, not for me. Not now, not anymore.
Good parents.
Yeah, I think all they really want to do is just, as long as you're progressing and as long as you're like improving and like enjoying what you're doing, I think,
If they see we're happy, then I think it's, that makes them, comforts them.
And as you said earlier, it wasn't just about you improving on the court, it's what happens on the court and how that develops you as a person off it. So they're going to be seeing all that growth going on there too. Yeah, definitely. All right, so we've talked about the positive dynamics of your parents. What's it like when we come and watch though? I want to ask that from her. Does it add an extra burden to you? I really hope I win today because Mum's watching, Dad's watching, or great Auntie Ethel's turned up and I better win because she hasn't seen me play for a while. Or does that liberate you a bit that they've got your corner? Just wondering how that works. I asked that because this one question was, Elijah played 2 weeks ago and my aunt and a friend were over, so there were 5 of us watching him play, and he left the match going, wow, there were so many people, it was so distracting. I'm like, it was 5? But so for me, I'm going, isn't this nice? Your auntie's coming to watch you play. And for him, he loved playing in front of us because he wanted to kind of express himself and show what he'd been learning. But also he left going almost with the sense of, felt a little bit of pressure because lots of people were watching. So I wonder how it is for you now as you're a little bit older in your sport and how that might have changed. Or
Yeah, I think now, because we're all like away from home, it's like a rarity that our parents actually come and watch. So when they do, like, there's always like that thing, like, you just want to make them proud, so you want to play as well as you can play. But yeah, I don't,
In general, no.
yeah, in general, not really.
no?
I think it's nice, like, it's almost intimidating for your opponent too, like, you know, they know, like, the more people are, they can't like cheat, you know, like try and pull some unethical moves, you know, because there's more people watching and stuff, so they tend to behave better, so it's also nice.
So you're saying I should wear my biker's jacket next time, kind of get a skinhead and stuff and all that kind of, okay then.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
For me,
The match will be won before Elijah even walks on.
it's more encouraging to have, the more people you have in your corner, it's more encouraging for me personally. Yeah.
Totally. So we've been talking about the process, we've been talking about kind of your experiences in the sport. Just wonder where we look at, where you're hoping your tennis journey takes you.
I want to win Wimbledon.
Come on.
Yes, and be one of the greats, so let's see. Yeah.
And that's something that drives you? Where does that drive come from?
Because I feel like then I can make a difference, you know, like more of a difference, impact more people's lives, you know.
Okay.
And yeah.
Just remember us though when you're on centre court.
Oh.
I'm sure there's enough room in the box for us all.
No, yeah, you have to be there too.
I'll do the interview at the end.
Yes.
There you go, exclusive to Courtside. That's cool. Cici?
Yeah, same with me. I want to be like a top player and
Yeah.
do all the Grand Slams and everything. And also, yeah, I guess if I do it, then like it encourages other people from like where I come from. You know, you
Yeah.
can just be like a simple girl from London and just. Oh, that sounds so cringe. You could just be like, you know, a girl from London, making it out in the big world, you know.
From that little village known as London. Yeah.
That little village of South London. Oh God, no, that's so cringe. I didn't know what to say.
You're now going to have to fill the void notes, Tabatso. There you go.
Okay, well, for me, I know the biggest thing that I want from my tennis is because it's something that I love to do so much.
Yeah.
Is that I'm also in a position to really, you know, I think about my niece, she's 6 now, to like really inspire these people that I've left behind back home, and the young people, and also lots of people in my family. So if I get to a place where I'm doing the best that I can, performing the best that I can, and still really making it about, you know, the people, not just, for me, not just about the titles or status anymore. That would be really, really great.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. The impact for sure. Yeah.
And not just people, like personally I think I'm doing it like for myself as well, because when I do stuff, like I want to set out to be like really good like at what I do, so yeah, I'm doing it for myself as well.
It's good to have goals and to kind of keep pushing yourself towards it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right, last question. You've made it. Last question that I can let you get back to some more training.
Long journey, I'm joking.
So why would you recommend sport to a young person?
It teaches them, I think, a lot more than like in the class you can be taught, and at home, like we said, like with tennis, there's so many different things involved, and I think it only can grow you as a person. Like there's no negative things that besides like maybe you really don't want to lose and stuff. Maybe then it can be a bit negative, but like no, other than that, I don't think sport doesn't bring any harm. It just like can make you a better person. I think gives you more freedom to express yourself and be who you are, you know. So.
And also like in school, like you're always trying to get like the perfect score on the test and like perfect results and everything, but in tennis especially, like it teaches you that you can't be perfect. Like it's an imperfect sport because you have to lose to win. Like you're gonna lose more than you win. So tennis, and it teaches you to like accept that you can't be perfect.
There are also so many different sports, you know, like in the classroom there's only a few things like subjects, you know, whereas sports there's so many, you can be good at so many different things, you know, it's not limited.
Different opportunities to express yourself.
I guess it teaches you so many values, as we said before: discipline, patience, confidence. Yeah, and things that you can not just use on the court, but you can use like in every aspect of your life.
So I think in general, sports is just a really great environment for character building, and you will, for the better, you will grow the best way possible. I think it's a really great environment for that. Yeah, definitely recommend it. Everybody play sport. Do it.
I think we'll end on that shameless plug. And what was that? A plug for sponsorship from a certain brand?
Yes.
Nike. Nike.
Nike.
If anyone's listening, I'm sure the calls
Sponsor
will
us.
come
Please.
Well, Paige, Cici, Tabatso, thank you so much for being on the podcast and for saying yes.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, are you sure it was? Yeah,
We won't mention the bribe you paid.
That's true. Yeah. We can't mention that. We can't mention that one. So thank you so much for being with us. And it's a real pleasure for me at courtside watching you three play as well. Certainly enjoy that. And all the best with your futures in your sport.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've made it.
Yes. That's the end of the
That's a wrap.
clip. Yeah, it's a wrap.
He dreams of Wimbledon, he's courtside dad.
So welcome to some Courtside Reflections with Kath and I. How did you find that conversation with Cici, Tabatso and Paige?
It's just refreshing to hear three female athletes absolutely loving what they're doing, and I think there's a real maturity for them as well in terms of the journey they've been on and equally where they're trying to get to, and just their reflections on in terms of parents, and it sounds for each of them that they have that very supportive background, but equally that sense for them that they have got maturity in terms of understanding the process of what they're trying to contend with. But I like that they have developed so many broader skills than just the sport. They talk very much about confidence and resilience and, you know, Cici's phrase about that lose to win. So they just sense of they love what they're doing, but they're realistic, they're determined, they know it asks a lot of them, and just that real challenge, but they love and thrive off the challenge.
Yeah, that phrase of lose to win is particularly pertinent in a sport like tennis, or you get in table tennis, or maybe in other racket sports where a game is won with a lot of points conceded and also won. So you have to then, during the match, pick yourself up after every shot that beats you to refocus. And so there's a maturing in that of I constantly having to pick myself back up. And they're all incredibly competitive. We watch them play quite a lot. They all desperately want to win, but there's something about a maturing process that happens through the sport that enables them to be able to pick themselves up after every point, to maybe even acknowledge the person played a good shot, or to acknowledge that was a bad shot from me, but I'm kind of shaking it off, next point, refocus. And that can only be good not just simply for their sport, but also going forward in life.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Tabatso sort of highlighted, and her being the older of the three, that sense of detaching identity from what she loves, isn't it?
Interesting phrase.
Yeah, a space where she's at now. But I think the more you hear them talking, it's that sense of that, you know, and it's always bounded around that holistic approach, but actually how much sport and tennis from what they're talking about is yes, absolutely the skills, but it's so much more than that, and so much more that they're developing of themselves as a personality and as a person. And I guess for me, having loved sport in school, that sense of frustration equally of what I see now and in the years that I've worked in school, of how many teens drop out of sport because they feel the pressure of other subjects needing to take priority. And yet these guys are saying you learn so much from being involved in sport, whether that be tennis or whatever that is at whatever level. Actually, you learn so many personal qualities, and you know that's what the workplace is crying out for. And yet somehow we seem to park that, and we don't talk in terms of sport being so much broader than the winning, the losing, the taking part, actually the qualities that they build.
Yeah, exactly. And when you get to someone like Paige, who very steely says, I want to win Wimbledon, and if she does, I hope we're in the box to cheer her on. But you know that she has, in part, the confidence to boldly say that, because over the years, sport has built her up to give her that level of confidence. Whether she does or not, she's old enough to know that nothing is ever a given, but she has that inner confidence and drive to want to achieve to the highest level. And whether her achievements happen on the court or off the court, there's something about what the sport has given to her to keep on pushing and striving. And we've had conversations with her accessing the school system over here. I'm going to pass this exam, I want to do that. And it's the same steely determination that you see on court that you see translated off court. And again, like you've just said, it's really sad, particularly within society, where we can often demean sport as being, within school context, a lesser learning opportunity, and prioritise other subjects over it. But yet, if we continue to endorse sport in the learning process, then sport helps to translate across all the subject levels, areas that they engage with.
And I think for each of them, all three of them sort of alluded to or said at the end, wasn't it, that they wanted to have an impact, they wanted to make a difference. So the platform they've been given and the opportunity that sport is giving them, they want to do something with that, and yes, go as far as they can, and we wish them massively all the best in that. But equally, the ultimate goal they're looking for is to have impact. It's not about raising the trophy at the end. They've all said it's about wanting to demonstrate to others what that opens up as opportunity, and to have that impact on it, which, you know, is an amazing I guess, mature place to be at.
It is, because they are, as we said, they are very competitive. They're always wanting to win, and we've had the pleasure over the past couple of months and year or so of knowing them, to see them win tournaments, and to kind of they've got that acclaim, to hear that they've won matches that they've fought through and they've enjoyed those wins. But yet the thing they kept on reflecting was, what is it that you got out the sport? They really didn't talk about the medals. They talked about the person they were becoming, the character formation that the sport was giving to them, and the desire to then give back into society. And if ever there was an endorsement for encouraging our children to get involved in sport, I think it comes ringing loud and clear from these three. And as a parent, the joy that I get watching Elijah play and seeing the amount he gets out of his sport above and beyond just the tennis. I hope that he keeps on hitting this fuzzy yellow ball over a net for as long as these three do, because if he can get to the level of maturity that they've got to and are constantly reflecting on, then that's going to make him a much more healthier and a whole person as he gets older.
When are we going to start playing tennis then?
I'm too immature.
Have we missed the boat?
I think so. I'm too immature, because it's all about the winning for me. I don't want to learn. I'm too petulant. Or maybe I should start.
Yeah, I think we should. We should book a lesson. Let's do it. And we'll feed back next courtside on a private lesson that we're going to try.
Oh, grief.
We should do this. Come on.
Go. Do you have a good number of a physio?
I think we should ask these three to teach us.
Okay, that seems fair. They seemed up for it.
Okay, then they can do reflections on our match.
Watch this space. We'll hope we'll give you in a future podcast. We'll let you know how it's all gone.
Just to say in advance, I will have won.
And that's fine for me, because I'm not here for the winning. I'm just for the person that I'm going to become. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. We do hope you've enjoyed it. Please do subscribe to the podcast. Please do promote it around, and keep the learning going around all fellow courtsiders. Wherever your adventure takes you over this coming week, whether courtside, pitchside or poolside, I hope it's a real edifying time for you as a family as a whole. All the very best. Bye.